and welcome to the Kitchen Underground. I'm Audrey, and I'm going to show you how to make delicious, healthy recipes. Today, to welcome in spring, we're going to make a few different things involving carrots. First, we're going to make brown sugar carrot walnut bread, and then we're going to make a carrot noodle slaw with roasted and raw cabbage. So let's get to know our ingredients a little bit better. Carrots are one of the first vegetables to pop up in springtime. Not only are they delicious, but they're really good for you too. They contain beta-carotene, which is converted into your body into vitamin A, which is great for not only your eyes, which a lot of people know, but for your skin, your hair, and even has anti-cancer properties. Next up, we have purple cabbage. As you might have guessed, cabbage is really high in fiber and low in calories, but it's also really high in vitamin K and potassium. In our recipe, we're going to use it both roasted and raw. It's going to give a nice contrast to flavors. In our slaw, we're also going to add some green onions, cilantro, red bell pepper, and in the dressing, we're going to add ginger, almond butter, a little bit of garlic, some rice vinegar, tamari, and a little bit of maple syrup. We're going to toss in a few sesame seeds at the end, and that's pretty much going to be our slaw. So let's get started. The first thing we're going to do is turn our oven on. We're going to bake the bread at 350, so we'll just roast our vegetables at that. Usually I like to go to 375, but it'll be fine at 350. For this particular slaw, although we're going to roast our cabbage, I also like to serve it cold. So that's going to be the first thing we do, is slice our cabbage, roast it, put it in the oven, and then we'll get going on our bread so that has time to cook. It takes about an hour. For the cabbage, I like to cut off the bottom, then peel the outer layer, set it on the cutting board, cut it down the center, and then cut out the very core of it, just using a triangle with your knife. Cut it in half again, and then just slice it. You're basically trying to shred the cabbage. After that, place half of the cabbage that's already shredded on a sheet pan, and we're going to roast that half. Then place the other half in a large bowl where we're going to make our actual slaw, and we'll reserve that for later. Once you have your half that's on the sheet pan, just drizzle it with 1 or 2 tablespoons of olive oil and about a teaspoon of sea salt. After you drizzle it with olive oil and a little sea salt, just give it a good toss, and then we're going to stick it in the oven at 375 for about 20 minutes. Looking at it occasionally, you don't want it too charred, you just want it right about al dente. As our cabbage is roasting, it's time to start our carrot bread. For our brown sugar carrot walnut bread, we're going to use 3/4 cup of coconut oil, 1 cup of brown sugar, 3/4 cup of applesauce, 1.5 cups of spelt flour, which you can also substitute all-purpose or gluten-free flour. Then we're going to use 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder, 2 teaspoons of cinnamon, a pinch of sea salt, which is optional, 3/4 cup of walnuts, 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract, and of course, 2 cups of grated carrots. So let's get started. The first thing that we need to do is wash our carrots and then grate them. It's about 2 to 3 carrots depending on how big they are. And I like to just cut off each end, the very tip, and shred them on a cheese grater right there. In this recipe, we're using coconut oil as our fat. So coconut oil comes as a solid, and we need it as a liquid form, so I like to just put it in a cup and microwave it. If you don't have a microwave, you can just do it on the stove top, or if it's really hot out, you can just leave it out on the counter and hopefully it'll melt. In the summertime, that tends to happen. We're going to roughly chop about 3/4 cup of walnuts. I like to make my quick breads in a stand-up mixer. You can also use a handheld or just a spatula if that's all you have. And using the paddle attachment, for this, we're going to combine our brown sugar and coconut oil until it's completely mixed, and then add our applesauce. So here's 1 cup of packed brown sugar and 3/4 cup of coconut oil. With the applesauce. And then we're going to add 3/4 cup of applesauce and then 2 teaspoons of vanilla. Make sure it's fully combined, and we're going to get our dry ingredients together. When I bake, I really like to use sprouted spelt flour. I feel that it's easier to digest and it has a really good flavor as well. But you can always use whatever flour you prefer. We're going to use 1½ cups of spelt flour, 1½ teaspoons of baking powder, and 2 teaspoons of cinnamon. Once you have all of your dry ingredients together, just give it a good stir. If you're really precise, you can always run it through a sifter into your wet ingredients, but I'm not really that kind of baker, so I like to give it just a good stir. After your dry and wet ingredients are fully combined, I like to add the carrots and walnuts in at the same time and just give it a quick stir in the mixer, or you can mix it with your hand. I always melt a little extra coconut oil to grease and flour a pan. So just drizzle a little bit in, rub it around the sides, and then add the flour and shake it and dump the excess flour. Once we've oiled and floured our pan, it's time to just place the batter in it, sprinkle a little brown sugar on top, and put it in the oven for 65 to 70 minutes. Our cabbage should also be about done, so let's check it. The cabbage looks really good. It's starting to brown, but it's not burning. So we're gonna just set it aside, or if you're in a time crunch, you can put it in a bowl and place it in the fridge to get a little bit cold, because you don't want it warming up the rest of your ingredients. You just want the texture and the flavor of the roastedness. Now that we have our carrot bread in the oven, it's time to work on our slaw a little bit more. For our carrot noodle slaw, we're gonna use 1 head of small to medium sized purple cabbage, 1 bunch of cilantro, about 3 medium to large carrots, 1 large red bell pepper, and we're gonna use 1 recipe of the ginger almond butter dressing. We're just gonna give our cilantro a wash. I like to just cut off the stems and wash it all together. I like to wash my cilantro first, just so that it has time to dry out a little bit. And then we're gonna wash our carrots. Well, this is called carrot noodle slaw. And usually I use my spiralizer to create carrot noodles, but unfortunately I forgot that today, so we're gonna improvise a little bit. I'm gonna cut off the tops of the carrots, and we're gonna make carrot ribbons, more like a pappardelle pasta with just like a simple vegetable peeler. So let's give it a try, see how it works out. Next, we're going to use 5 green onions. First, you're going to wash them and then cut off the very root end and just like the tips of the greens. And then just really thinly slice them. After you wash your bell pepper, you're going to just slice down the edge of one side, take out the seeds and the top stem, and then just slice it as thinly as you can. Now that our cilantro is nice and dry, we're gonna chop it up. Kind of close to a chiffonade, if you will, but it doesn't have to be that exact, it's just going in a slaw. After our vegetables are all ready to go in our bowl, we're gonna make our dressing. Now you can either make the dressing first, put it in the fridge, or make it after, whichever you prefer. For this recipe, we're going to use a 1/4 cup of rice wine vinegar, a 1/2 cup of freshly ground almond butter, 2 cloves of garlic, about a 2-inch piece of ginger, a 1/4 cup of cold water, 3 tablespoons of tamari, and 1 tablespoon of maple syrup. For the ginger, we're simply going to peel it, and the garlic as well. Just set the garlic on the cutting board with the flat edge of your knife. Place it on it and the heel of your hand on the other side of the knife and press down, and this should break the garlic clove and make the peel really easy to come off. After you have your ginger and garlic peeled, simply put it in the blender, and we're then going to add our other ingredients. A 1/4 cup of rice vinegar, a 1/4 cup of cold water, 3 tablespoons of tamari, 1 tablespoon of maple syrup, and 1/2 cup of almond butter. Simply put the top on and blend it until it's smooth. Do a quick taste test. Perfect. Makes about 1.25 cups. And it's up to you if you want to use it all in the salad or reserve some for later. Okay, I think we're almost ready to combine all of our ingredients. The last things we need to add are roasted cabbage, some dressing, and our 2 tablespoons of sesame seeds. It's been about 65 minutes, so it's time to check our carrot bread. You know the bread is done when you either stick a knife in and it comes out clean, or if you press down and it kind of pops back up at you. After we let it cool for about 20 minutes in the pan, then I am going to just draw the knife around the edges and put it on a cooling rack. And then it'll be ready to eat. And there you have it, 2 delicious spring carrot recipes. One to satisfy your hunger and another for your sweet tooth. Join me again next time on the Kitchen Underground.